Okay, so let's have a look at how we debug code in the browser. There are three different ways to do it. The first one, if you look, Microsoft have VS Code recipes, and there's a module for Meteor and how to do it. And what I'm going to do is take this little part of the script here and copy it. So this is a launch option. So I'll go to VS Code, click on the little cog, and in fact we've already got a launch option there. It's got the URL that we want to go to, the support URL. So if we then hit launch here, so you see we've basically got this selected, and then we hit the little green arrow to launch it, then basically it will run up the browser and go to the page that we want to start working on. Now this is really good, except you don't have the context of your normal browser. So if my main copy of Chrome, you see I'm logged in as myself and I have all my environment and context and so on, this one is like an anonymous window, so it basically doesn't inherit the context, so you would have to sign in if you wanted to, and that might be good. That's something you might want to actually test with a clean environment. I prefer the other way, and that's the second method that we can use. But let's continue with this. So let's say that we want to put in, I am having trouble, nothing works today. And what I'm going to do is go to the place in the code where this is handled. So you see this is the submit, the handle submit in the support module. And I'm going to set a breakpoint there. And it says it lights up, so it's red, so that means it's actually connected to the process. And it's running, so when I go back here and I click the button, it'll jump into that. So you can see the data that's passed in, the message and the subject, and then you can continue to step through and debug it. So that's all good. All right, so let's just stop that one and go to the next method, which is to actually, instead of launching, to attach to Chrome. And there's some information in these ones. So I've put in some comments here. This is not part of the actual configuration that's required. It's more of a note for myself to say you can run Chrome from the command line with this command. And the key is that this remote debugging port is what's required, and you can't unfortunately do this from launching a normal Chrome process. You have to go to the terminal, run up Chrome with this command line option, and then it means that you can actually attach to it. And you have to get the URL right ahead of time, so it's a little bit tricky, but it's actually beneficial, because let's say that I've got the page up on display there, and then go to VS Code in my launch, choose this one, which is attached to /support, so I can choose it there, got that, click attach, and then you'll notice the little toolbar comes up. I can go to my code, I can set my breakpoint there, and go back to the form and say, still not working, having a bad day, hit submit, and then I've got my breakpoint. So that's the same. The benefit is that I've got my full Chrome environment. I can look at other tabs, so it's integrated. Instead of being a separate copy of Chrome, it's all in the same one. Okay, so that's that. So let's look at the third method, which is to go into the inspector, and you can have a look at the sources tab. Now, because we've stopped on a breakpoint, it's actually taken us to the source code, which is kind of convenient. I'll tell it to continue, and it's got some bug there, and I'll go back to VS Code and remove that breakpoint. And what I can do is set a breakpoint from within Chrome. So I don't necessarily have to have Meteor running or VS Code running. I could quit VS Code and I could debug it from here. So in the Chrome console, under the Sources tab, I can actually set a breakpoint there to say I'm going to stop when it says set loading. So let's do that again, and you see that it then runs up. Now, one of the things that's happening, in fact, because we're attached to the Chrome process, it gives VS Code precedence, but what I could do is disconnect it from there, and then it stays in in the browser. So I can step over the functions, and I can call the function, and I can continue and hit the arrow. So that's the third way of actually hooking into Chrome and doing the debugging. And it basically brings up the source code here, so you can do everything that you can do in VS Code. VS Code is kind of neater because it's easier to navigate the other modules. You can get to all of the other source code in here, but you have to drill down into them to say, all right, UI, pages, all of that. You don't have the richness of the VS Code environment where you can actually search for things and find them easy. So there you go. That's how you do it.